This invention was so dangerous, it didn't even get a second chance. No beta testing, no product launch, no TED Talk, just immediate exile to the government's Nope folder. We're talking about a device so mind-blowingly powerful, it could have changed the entire trajectory of human civilization, literally, across the galaxy. But instead, banned, buried, and almost completely erased from the public eye. This isn't sci-fi. This isn't conspiracy. This was real. And it was called Project Orion. Let's set the scene. It's the 1950s. The Cold War is colder than your ex's heart. The US and the USSR are basically playing nuclear chicken, and paranoia is in the air thicker than hairspray at a 1950s prom. While most people were worried about duck and cover drills, a group of elite physicists, including Manhattan Project veterans, asked a slightly more ambitious question. What if we used nuclear bombs to launch a spaceship? And no, that's not a euphemism. They literally wanted to build a spacecraft that propels itself by detonating nuclear bombs behind it, one after another, like cosmic popcorn. Each explosion pushes the ship forward. The result? A sort of nuclear pogo stick, with the power to fling you to Mars in 3 months. Let me say that again for the people in the back. A 3-month trip to Mars in the 1960s. Meanwhile, we're still struggling to get there in under a decade in 2012. Now, the ship wasn't some sci-fi drawing. This wasn't a napkin doodle from a caffeine-fueled grad student. This was the real deal. They had blueprints, equations, a full research team, funding from DARPA, meetings with the Pentagon. They even built scale models and tested them using conventional explosives. One test model flew over 100 feet using nothing but chemical blasts. Imagine what the nuclear version could have done. And here's where it gets even crazier. This wasn't a moonshot. This was a solar system shot. Orion was designed to carry hundreds of tons. Not kilograms, tons of cargo, of crew, of dreams. Want to build a base on the moon? No problem. Want to send 200 people to Europa and back? Easy. Need to evacuate Earth before we nuke ourselves into oblivion? Orion was your ticket out. This was humanity's golden parachute, powered by mushroom clouds. So, why don't we have nuclear-powered space yachts floating around Saturn right now? 2 words: test ban. Just as Orion was gaining traction, the Partial Nuclear Test Ban Treaty was signed in 1963. That meant no more nukes in space, no more tests in the atmosphere, and definitely no more rocket ships doing backflips off mushroom clouds. Overnight, the project became politically radioactive, and, well, literally radioactive too. The US quietly shut it down. But here's the thing. They didn't shut it down because it didn't work. They shut it down because it worked too well. Because let's be honest, launching a ship with 2,000 nuclear bombs is the scientific equivalent of juggling chainsaws while skydiving. Technically impressive? Yes. Publicly acceptable? Not so much. Imagine the press conference. Ladies and gentlemen, we are proud to announce that we'll be detonating a small armory of nuclear weapons to send 6 guys and a dog to Saturn. Yeah, not exactly the PR win NASA needed. Now let's talk about the brains behind this bomb-powered behemoth. Stanislav Ulam, theoretical physicist, co-developer of the hydrogen bomb. Casual genius. He didn't just want to explore space, he wanted to colonize it. And he believed nuclear propulsion was the only way to do it efficiently. He wasn't wrong. Chemical rockets are slow, limited, heavy. You can barely fit a toothbrush on a SpaceX capsule without sacrificing oxygen, but Orion had room. Think cruise ship, not compact car. And its design? Brutally simple. Step 1, drop a nuke out the back. Step 2, detonate it. Step 3, ride the shockwave. Repeat hundreds of times. The craft had a gigantic metal plate at the back, known as the pusher plate, that absorbed the force of each blast. That plate was connected to the main body by massive shock absorbers to prevent the whole thing from shaking itself to pieces. It's like building a trampoline for nuclear explosions. Now you might be asking, wouldn't that kill the astronauts? Fair question. The short answer, hopefully not. The crew cabin would have been heavily shielded and mounted on a suspension system to reduce the G-forces. But let's not sugarcoat it. It still would have felt like riding a roller coaster through an earthquake during a fireworks show. And the launch? Oh man. To lift off from Earth, Orion would have had to detonate hundreds of nukes in the atmosphere. That means radiation, fallout, EMPs, just a casual, extinction-level environmental catastrophe. So yeah, that part was a little problematic. But here's where it gets juicy. Some believe the US never really gave up on Orion, that it was shelved publicly but secretly continued in the shadows. Rumors swirl about underground tests in Nevada, about top-secret military variants, about black budget programs too classified to even name, and some go even further. There are whispers that elements of Orion's tech, particularly its pulse propulsion concept, were quietly integrated into other defense initiatives. UFO sightings near classified test ranges, bright lights, sudden bursts of speed. Some theorists say you're not seeing aliens, you're seeing test flights of Orion's ghost. And let's not forget, the Pentagon is really good at hiding things. Remember the F-117 stealth fighter? That flew in the 80s, but wasn't revealed to the public until years later. Entire aircraft programs have lived and died before we ever saw a single leaked photo. So if the military did keep Orion alive in the dark, we probably wouldn't know. At least, not officially. Which raises the million-dollar question, why hasn't anyone brought Orion back today? We've got better shielding, cleaner nukes, AI guidance. Elon Musk tweeting like a Bond villain. Surely someone could give it another go, right? Well, not quite. Because while technology has improved, politics hasn't. No nation wants to be the first to break the ban on space nukes. The optics alone would be brutal, and international treaties are, legally binding. But perhaps the biggest reason Orion stays dead is this. It represents a version of humanity that's both incredibly bold and incredibly reckless. It's the same mindset that split the atom, that built cities on deserts, that drilled into the ocean floor just to see what's down there. Orion wasn't just a spaceship. It was a symbol of what we could have been if we decided risk was worth more than regulation, if we chose expansion over caution, ambition over fear, and maybe, just maybe, we still might. Because let's be real, climate collapse, resource wars, AI rebellion, the 21st century's playing out like the intro to a sci-fi dystopia. And here's something they don't put in textbooks. Project Orion was so ahead of its time, it accidentally kicked off one of the earliest ethical debates in space exploration. Not about aliens, not about colonization, about how much power is too much. Is it moral to fling atomic bombs into the sky if it means saving humanity? Do we cross the line in the name of progress, or do we draw the line and stay grounded? Some scientists on the Orion team walked away not because the tech failed, but because it scared the hell out of them. Not just what it could do, but what it meant for us if we said yes. And maybe that's the real reason Orion was silenced. Not the treaties, not the politics, but the terrifying realization that we were on the edge of becoming gods, with no clue how to handle it. Because the moment you start treating nuclear warheads like jet fuel, you're not in Kansas anymore. You're not even on Earth anymore. You're playing chess on a cosmic board with thermonuclear pieces. And trust me, history has shown we're not great at handling that kind of responsibility. But maybe that's what makes Orion so fascinating. It's not just the ship that never flew, it's the idea we were almost bold enough to try. So when the day comes that we need a fast way off this rock, Orion's blueprints might just come back out of the vault, After all, there's nothing like the threat of extinction to make people reconsider their stance on nukes. So the next time you see a UFO streak across the sky, don't ask where it came from. Ask what we buried to make sure it never got built. Thanks for watching. If your brain is buzzing with what-if energy, hit that like button like it's the launch switch on an Orion prototype. Subscribe to Archive Zero for more forbidden tech, erased ideas, and history that didn't want to be found. And drop a comment. What other banned invention do you think is hiding in the shadows? Because we're just getting started, and what's next might make Orion look like child's play.